Everyone needs shelter, a place to live, rest and eat, a home or habitat. While the ocean can be rough and very windy sometimes, it's always calm in the tidal creeks. The overhanging mangrove trees form a shady canopy. The shallow creek is not disturbed by strong winds. Life in the tidal creek centres around two tide cycles that occur every 24 hours, high tides and low tides. Seagrass beds are accessible to wading birds at low tide. Royal spoonbills sweep the water with their touch-sensitive bills, feeling for small fish, crabs, prawns or mollusks to eat. White ibis probe the mud with their bills to find mollusks and soldier crabs. Pied cormorants swim and dive to catch fish. White herons stalk small fish using their long pointy bill to catch them, and pelicans use their bills to scoop fish up from the water. Meanwhile, the fish are trying to avoid the birds. In the seagrass beds, by swimming in schools, or blending in with the background like this estuary flathead and this common toadfish, or these bream, or hiding around the rocks. Oysters and algae grow on the rocks in the creek. Oysters have two half shells joined by a hinged ligament. Pied oyster catchers use their red bills to open oyster shells and eat the animal inside. These marine snails are resting on the empty oyster shells. This is a different sea snail. It ploughs through the sand looking for small bivalve mollusks to eat. See the trail it has left. See these small barnacles that are attached to the rocks? Crested terns rest and preen on exposed rocks or sandbanks. They feed on small fish. Soldier crabs sift through sand and mud, looking for very small bits of animal and plant debris to eat. They burrow into the sand or mud to hide from predators. This mangrove heron or bittern can easily catch a small fish from the rocks at low tide. Beach stone curlews are most active at dawn, dusk or at night when they feed on crabs, marine worms and mollusks. They nest in the mangroves. Trees, shrubs, grasses and sand dune vines line the shores of the tidal creek, providing a habitat for birds, lizards, insects and ghost crabs. Casuarina and pandanus are two common trees near the tidal creek banks. See the orange-yellow pandanus fruit? Birds like honeyeaters nest in the thick-leafed twirls of the pandanus trees. And at certain times, migratory blue tiger butterflies group together on the pandanus leaves where they will rest or sleep. Flying foxes, blossom bats, and birds and insects feed on coastal banksia flowers. Scrub turkeys scan the bush adjacent to the high tide mark for fruits and insects. See this male's enlarged yellow breeding wattle? He uses it to attract females to his mound, where they mate and the female then lays her eggs. Goannas will eat scrub turkey eggs. Grasses help keep the sand dune stable by stopping the wind blowing the sand away. Then other plants, like the goat's foot vine, can grow and stabilize and develop the habitat. Each runner sends out small roots that anchor the plant in the sand. Beach primrose flowers attract insects and insect-eating birds. Small birds like warblers will eat caterpillars for protein. Masked plovers nest on the ground amongst the sand dune grasses and vines where they raise their chicks. Cotton harlequin bugs pierce young shoot stems of the sea hibiscus and feed on the sugary juice inside. A pair of harlequin bugs, the females are orange, males are red-blue in colour. The sheltered twigs of the sea hibiscus provide a safe place for the female to lay and guard her eggs. Old flowers and leaves fall to the ground where they break down, putting nutrients back into the tidal creek habitat. Animals and plants can enter and exit the tidal creek with the incoming or outgoing tide. See these comb jellies? They look like globs, and they've got long tentacles which they use to catch plankton to eat. And see this other type of comb jelly? Its body is like a tube. It sucks in seawater and extracts the plankton and then expels the water. That's how it eats. See this blue blubber jellyfish? It's a plankton feeder too. It's got these secondary tentacles with thousands of little mouths that are able to trap and suck in food. Blue-spotted stingrays often enter the creek on the incoming high tide. They feed in shallow water over sand, mud or seagrass. Their mouth is on the underside of their body. They disturb the creek floor, searching for mollusks, crabs, marine worms and shrimps to eat. Why do you think these toadfish are staying near the stingray? What do you think that they are going to be eating? Plant and animal matter and other particles circulate in the creek due to the influence of the tides and the gentle creek current. Some of this material gets washed up on the creek banks and forms mini habitats for smaller animals and food or nesting material for larger animals. The purple sea snail lives in the open ocean and makes these mucus bubbles which keep it afloat, but this one has washed up with the tide. Seagulls scavenge on what is washed up by the tide. This young gull is begging for food. Willy wagtails hunt for insects on the ground. They flit around, moving their tail from side to side to disturb insects which they can catch on the fly. These pelicans have their wings raised above their body so that they can be ready to fly away. Further down the creek, the quiet current distributes a rich store of rotting debris from the trees that grow beside the water. This covers everything with a fine deposit of organic matter. Meanwhile, this sprouted mangrove seedling has washed up with the tide, and it could grow and grow to become a mature mangrove tree, like this one, and provide shelter for fish and prawns. Can you see the aerial roots sticking up from the creek bed? These aerial roots are called pneumatophores, and they belong to this grey mangrove tree. Mangrove trees grow in mud, but there's little or no oxygen in the mud, so these trees use aerial roots to breathe in oxygen from the air at low tide. Mullet feed on algae that grow on the seagrass and on broken down leaves that are in the creek. They also school together and feed on algae that grows on the rocks. There is an osprey nest on a pole overlooking the creek. It's made of sticks, driftwood, and lined with grass, seaweed or bark. An osprey will catch and eat a mullet. And a seagull will come to snatch food that the osprey drops. But the osprey is not keen on sharing. So once the osprey is gone, the seagull is able to move in and obtain some more food. The next morning, the osprey again is looking for fish to eat. But this time, this mullet got to swim away. What was your favourite animal from the Tidal Creek gang? If you'd like to, you could let me know why in the comments section of this YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe if you'd like to see the next nature video and receive a kids activity sheet.